Well, Mark, thanks for coming to share your story with us. Take us back to kind of when it began as such, when you got this diagnosis, how it came about, and how it made you feel.
Yeah, I think if you're talking about taking it back, it's all the way back to kind of when I was younger. I think I've, underneath the surface, always known I'm different in some kind of way. And over the years, it kind of manifests in kind of negative ways that you compare yourself to others. Um, yeah, you kind of yeah, you become different characters trying to kind of fit in with places. So you subtly know, obviously I didn't know of my diagnosis by then, but you know there's a difference. And so since that kind of period of ending my career, that's when the kind of traits of ADHD really come apparent, because my football career was, I think football just lends itself to neurodiversity perfectly in terms of the action, the kind of camaraderie, community in the changing room, the fitness levels, the intense training, and equally down to the structure of games and training in games. So yeah, it really become, since I've retired, things just started coming apparent, little traits in terms of my organisational skills. I've always been a very emotional person, even from young, but yeah, things would affect me quite a lot, and I'm very empathic, so I take on a lot of people's problems. So all these things came out from the end of my career, and that's where it led towards my diagnosis, which I'm now learning. This is how most people have kind of late diagnosis through their own children. So it's actually my son's troubles at school around the age of 15 that I yeah, I started having conversations at home, and things started coming up on social media when my phone was listening to me. And that's when things were really making sense, what I was seeing in terms of the depressive feelings I had, anxiety, but I knew it wasn't depression, anxiety. I just couldn't, there's lots of things going on, but I just couldn't put my finger on it. And this was really making the most sense I've seen for years.
So, was it a huge help then to get that diagnosis?
Yeah, it was huge. It was huge. I think this is my personal journey. So ADHD is unique to everyone. This is the misconception, and why probably I didn't have no understanding of it, because it is literally everyone is unique in their own experience of life. So for me, the diagnosis was huge, but I'm not saying that needs to be the be all and end all. But yeah, it was huge. It was really nerve-wracking, because what if I didn't have a neurodivergence of some sort? But equally, I was so optimistic that this was the answer. And so when I had that assessment, and I say the word assessment, but it's more like an informal chat like we're having now, you know, for 3 hours. It was really enlightening. So much information, and it was probably up there with one of the best moments of my life, if I'm being really honest. That it was, everything made sense. That's the easiest way to describe it. Everything made sense in my life, and I looked back, and it was really powerful. And that's why I'm really kind of like passionate about helping others, because the impact it had on me, the feeling that I wasn't broken. It's as simple as that. I wasn't broken. There was nothing wrong with me. There was an answer. So it was huge.
And so, since that diagnosis in March, what have you set about trying to do?
Yes, so I twinned what we were talking about with my academy. I love helping players. I'm passionate about developing players, seeing them grow in confidence, growing in stature, and understanding the game to thrive. And so I twinned that with, I did so much research, and I still am, and it's just so apparent how many people are struggling out there, not through not knowing about their neurodivergence, or not having the skill set or the tools to manage it and to thrive with it. So that I twinned them two parts and thought, you know what, there's no real footballers out there who are in terms of male footballers, that is, really, the women are doing amazing things. But in a male world, there's not many come out and actually kind of doing things around it. And I was really passionate about using my experience as a footballer, and also lived experience as a neurodivergent, to now help other people and help them thrive in life.
What is your message to anyone who might be struggling in silence?
Yeah, my message would be purely, you don't need to struggle. There's answers out there. Hopefully, like we've got a website we're building called the Neurodivergent Footballer, and it's full of tools to search and to inquire, and to start to try to understand yourself. And so it's tough out there, and that's why I'm coming out with this, because it's some ups and downs that are really tough, but equally we all deserve to enjoy life. That's what life is for living, and there's no reason why people with neurodivergence should see it as a negative, because once you can manage it and understand it and accept yourself and be compassionate to yourself and others around you, understand it more as well, you can really use it as an unreal skill.
And you said it is different for everyone, but what was the biggest, or what is the biggest challenge that you face with your neurodiversity?
Yeah, so it's really brand new for me because I'm now having to live 43 years, living one way, which it's quite clear it didn't really work. It was causing me too many ups and downs. So that understanding of myself, I've really had to kind of focus it. I was fortunate. Football was my passion. I love it, and so really, for any neurodivergent, focus on your passion. That's what really drives you. That's what really makes you kind of look forward to doing things. We all have to do the boring side of life. I'm not taking away from that, but find what you're passionate about. Learn about yourself, and also don't try to live the way that we see things differently. So don't have to live with the fast world of going 100 miles an hour. I've slowed things right down and almost like set myself smaller challenges each day, like 3 things a day to do, rather than got to bang these things out, work 12 hours. Because I've learned we haven't got the energy and the emotional kind of capacity to go as hard and fast as maybe a neurotypical person, just because our minds, and my mind is hyperactivity is in my mind, so I'm constantly thinking, constantly getting ideas, and it can be exhausting. So just slowing down, taking time, and also learning the tools. So for me, when I get overwhelmed, meditation and breathing techniques in the moment are quite helpful, and I found them really useful. Again, that's my experience, but being around other neurodivergent people as well, and just having people around you. I'm really fortunate with my loved ones and friends and family that they get me, and I'm talking more now. So rather than keeping it to myself, as Mark the footballer was, who had to have this front on that I was this strong centre back kind of thing. No, I find talking to people and them understanding is hugely beneficial.
The PFA did a survey recently, and it disclosed that 60% of footballers who have a neurodivergent condition wouldn't feel comfortable reporting that to their club. Now, you didn't know you had one when you were playing, but if you had, would you have felt comfortable telling your club about it?
Yeah, so this is another reason why I'm really passionate about helping through the world of football, because it's so apparent, the high numbers, and I was so pleased that that report come out. But equally, my mind went to exactly what you just said there. As a footballer, as a young footballer who hadn't maybe striving to be in a team and wasn't kind of cemented my career as a solid first team player, I don't think I would have said it, because there's always that worry in the back of your head that who is actually seeing this? Is this secret? Is this going to come out? Did someone see me writing this? Because that's the worry. So I suspect that 60% of them guys that said they had a trait of some sort, I think that percentage is probably higher, because there's some people who will not put it down for fear of being stigmatised and seen as weak.
Do you think you'd have had that fear?
I believe at the time, yeah, I in my early years, I was definitely, my kind of motivation for playing was through fear, through fear of making mistakes, and obviously that's down to my unknown neurodivergence at the time. But yeah, I believe I would have loved to think I could be honest and put it out there, but my gut feelings, I probably would have skipped over a couple of questions.
What would your message be now, though? Do you think players should feel confident in speaking up, and actually they might find that helps them a lot to be able to, if they do have the courage, might be the wrong word, but confidence to speak up, that actually it might help them?
I think, yeah, with kind of late diagnoses kind of around my age, there can be some real kind of ingrained negatives put into you, which you have to work on. But what I've noticed is the earlier you know, the better. The world is so diverse in many ways. Why shouldn't the way your brain thinks and works be seen exactly the same? It's a beautiful thing. The game of football is evolving. Managers, they're trying to manage to get the best out of their players, and so they can perform. So that just taps in naturally to me, that by knowing how your player ticks as a neurodivergent, you can get even more out of them, you know, because there's going to be that trust. There's going to be so many positive elements that the players, if they do come out, can be understood, and how to get the best out of them and have them conversations. And it's 2025, and these things should be made normal. But equally, players as role models as well, you know. If some players were to come out with a neurodivergence, imagine how many lives you're going to benefit and change in terms of young fans, young people, or adults. You know, if like my favourite Zidane came out, you know, it'd be like, wow, what an impact that would make. So yeah, I think we're going in the right direction. That's exactly why I'm kind of starting these conversations now and thinking when are we going to have the conversations around football, sport, and what an asset it is, rather than to be stigmatised.
I'm not sure any other men's footballers have spoken openly about neurodivergence. I mean, in the women's game, Lucy Bronze earlier this year talking about her autism and ADHD. How big a difference do you think that can make, a role model like that who's achieved so much in the women's game, just being very open about it?
I think it's amazing. I think that vulnerability that the women are showing is such a human characteristic that we can all kind of buy into. Again, the difference is there's something to be celebrated. That's what the world's about. I'm so interested in different cultures, different nationalities, and we all are, and the world's evolving. So I really kind of take my hat off to the women that they're coming out and being honest, because it's not seen as a negative there. There's a couple of footballers that I know of that have come out publicly, and well done to them, because they've owned it, and like we said, they're such positive role models for other young neurodivergents who are maybe in the youth teams, because I had chats with the Premier League and the PFA on this, and there's stuff being done, and we need to support the younger players coming through, or equally the older players as they're finishing their careers as well, you know.
What do you think the governing bodies and the clubs can do to make it easier for people living with these conditions, players living with these conditions?
I think the biggest thing, obviously there's kind of changes in schedules, but it's mainly just that understanding. It's that knowledge of how to get the best out of players, understanding that how you can make them thrive, and equally when it's tough times. So big part for me, my neurodivergence is rejection sensitivity. So when I didn't need a coach or a manager to kind of ridicule me, you know, I'd already done it myself times 10, because I hit that one pass 1 inch off of where I wanted to go, you know. So I think it's just understanding and knowing the different types of players. And yes, I may have been a kind of centre back that has to be this tough kind of physical player, but equally I was quite a soft person in my heart, and I didn't need to be told in certain times. And maybe little reminders, an arm around my shoulder could have been a good thing. So I think just they're examples for me personally, so I can't speak upon other people, but I just think that understanding and that knowledge of every individual in the change room or in life that you know can always be helpful.
You lived a career that is a dream for many people, a professional footballer, and you achieved so much. Player of the Year at Southend, part of a team that went to Wembley, getting promoted with Brentford. And, you know, we've seen footage of you scoring a goal, and that all looks like a dream life. But underneath that, were things difficult for a reason that you weren't even aware of?
Yes, football is almost like a release. When you're playing football, you're in it. You can forget everything's going on in the rest of the world, whether you have problems or not. And it's just such a beautiful game. I love it. But yeah, looking back now, everything's on reflection. That part of me was, I suppose, a lot of footballers, a lot of sports people, a lot of kind of striving elite people. I was a perfectionist. So before I got diagnosed, I saw my career as a failure, which is quite a sad thing to say, because when I opened up and told my friends about that, they were really surprised, because like you said, there's so many great things that I've done and achieved. But that trait and that part of ADHD, again, is always looking for the next best thing, forgetting your achievements because you're on to that next game. And that's exactly how my experience of ADHD is, that you're always looking forward, always looking ahead, and you forget to look backward and actually see how well you've done, and constantly comparing to others. I should have made the Premier League. I didn't make the Premier League, so I was a failure. And then it was only when I then spoke to a Premier League player who played international level, who resonated exactly with what I was saying. The penny dropped for me and said, "Oh, there's no ceiling to this perfectionism. If I'd made the Premier League, it would have been something else and something else." And so that understanding of my neurodivergence would have been really helpful for me when I was playing, because it would have given me a reason. It would have allowed me to relax. And when you relax and you're confident, you usually perform better, don't you? So yeah, it would have been really helpful.
That feels similar to something I talk about it because it's the highest profile interview I've seen. But Lucy Bronze said that had she known earlier in her career, it might not have changed anything, but the relief that she has now from knowing has made a world of difference. Is that a feeling that strikes a chord with you?
Yeah, I really resonate with that. Again, your life is your life. You can't go back, but you can look forward and help others, and that's why I'm doing this really. And Lucy Bronze is doing some amazing work, and I'd love to get involved with the PFA and her in what they've got planned, which I'm really looking forward to. But yeah, it would have been really helpful just to know, and it wouldn't have changed who I am, but what it would have in terms of the footballer. But what I think it would have really helped us who I am as a person. The two different kind of things, who I needed to be to get results and produce performances on the pitch for the 3 points, but equally know who I was and not let them two detach from each other, because I was Mark the footballer and that's all it was. I didn't actually know who I was as a person. So the bigger picture of life and after football is really helpful.
I mean, you talk about how positive a thing football was really for you to channel a condition that you didn't know you had, but how tricky was it sometimes to be living that life as a neurodivergent person and not even knowing you had a neurodivergent condition?
Yeah, we had some ups and downs. Obviously, I really felt losses or mistakes, bad performance. It really hurt me to the core, and made sure like I was never going to make those mistakes again. Equally, change is a big thing. I've always struggled with change. All my family have known it, but I didn't realise actually how much change can be in terms of ADHD, and I've also got a lot of autistic traits as well. So I had a couple of moves where for only a 1 month loan to the SBL, and my next 2 games were Celtic away and Rangers away, which, wow, what a couple of games to play in, and who knows where my career could have gone. But I was out of my comfort zone. This is normal for footballers to kind of be worried about moves and moving their families and kids and stuff like that. But mine was to the point of that I wanted to just be back home in my comfortable surroundings. And then Ghent came in as well, who were in the Champions League at the time when I was a young player and thriving in the Championship. And again, I looked at it, oh, it's Belgium. And looking back now, I couldn't see the bigger picture. But maybe if I had known about my neurodivergence, I would have understood, yes, it's normal for you to worry, Mark. It's gonna go, it's gonna pass. This is change. You struggle with change, but you can do this. So little things like that, I think, would have made a real difference on my career.
And what's your message of positivity to anyone living with a neurodivergent condition?
I think my positive message is definitely that you're not in this alone. This is the reason I'm kind of here and building resources to spread awareness and help people. There's plenty of kind of learning, information, tools to manage your difficulties. People around who want to help. Don't be alone, because you really can. Once you start understanding and being more compassionate to yourself and kind to yourself, over time you can hone them skills and manage them and make them limitless. There's anything possible with our minds and what we think up constantly all day.